Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, our financial consciousness training for the B1 community. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I hope everybody's feeling good. And I was thinking about a few things that we should sort of cover today in terms of topics that are of interest to a lot of us. And one of the things I wanted to bring up are some financial issues of the government shutdown that everybody should know about in terms of understanding what's going on there and what's happening there economically. And then also, I had a couple other topics I was going to hit on that kind of relate to toxic money. And I thought about this because I was watching this show last night with my wife, and it's a show called, I forgot what it's called. It's on Apple Plus, and Jennifer Aniston is in the show, and it's about this news organization, and they're kind of all battling for power, and there's scandals and everything else, and there's always like the token black people and stuff, the ones that are appropriately behaved enough to fit into white organizations and all that kind of thing. And I was sort of looking at this, and there was one part of the show where Alicia said something about this guy. There's like an Elon Musk type character in the show, and he's this really rich guy, and he kind of pops in. He was trying to buy the company, and some crazy shady things were happening, and it was kind of frustrating people because he had an agenda. And she said, "Yeah, you're only here because you have an agenda." And he said, "Well, of course I do, right?" And I thought about that, and I said, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that that would surprise anybody that a billionaire would have an agenda, right? Most people that become very wealthy, they don't become wealthy by accident. They don't become wealthy because they sat around and got lucky, or prayed for it, or just somebody gave them all the money. They got wealthy because they had a plan, they had a strategy. And so I was watching this, and of course, him being a billionaire, his strategy involved making more money, and it distracted from the core mission of the organization, right? It distracted from the ability of the organization to do what it was supposed to do. I guess something related to the news or something. I always end up. My wife will be watching like shows like on Apple Plus. Apple Plus shows, honestly, a lot of them are more oriented toward women, and I like them. Like I try to understand them, but I'm a man. I can't change my gender, so I try my best though. I promise, but I can't help it. When I know that there's football games that I haven't watched yet, I'll be watching football on silent while she's watching her show, and I try to keep up with just enough of it so I can have a conversation. Because if you get a wife, there's some probability your wife is going to want to talk. And so talking is, I don't know how other guys are, but I don't talk. I get on the phone with my guy friends, and we just kind of grunt at each other for about 5 minutes and then hang up the phone. And so the communicating part is work. It takes work, but I'm trying. God ain't through with me yet. And so I'm watching the show, and I said, yeah, isn't it interesting? And I want to think. So here's my point. I said, isn't it interesting that this billionaire is funding their billion-dollar company? There was a whole scene where the reason they were all there was to get billionaires to give them money. So they're all on pins and needles to make sure they don't upset the billionaires. And unfortunately, what's interesting is that most of those billionaires have their own agenda, and the money is what's going to drive the agenda. The billionaire's agenda is going to be everybody's agenda because the billionaire controls the gold, right? And I said, isn't it interesting that we celebrate raising money, right? We celebrate when a black owned business gets acquired. We celebrate when a black owned business raises funding. We celebrate when a black owned business gets put in Target or whatever. But we don't really sit back and ask ourselves this question about money that's really important, which is that good money or bad money?